let's get rocking. Discipleship beyond church.
Hello, me again. All right, so the reality is that discipleship, we're just going to go right through this, okay? This one is a lot more practical, maybe a lot less tears. But discipleship should happen more outside of these walls than inside of these walls. Okay, so how in the world does that happen? I know we've all got jobs, we've got many of us have children of our own, there's just so many things, but what we're also an uphill battle against is that what students come here maybe 2 hours a week, if best. And church is not a have to. School is a have to. Home is a have to. Church is not a have to. So if they don't want to, they're not coming. So you don't always even have the 2 hours a week. And we want discipleship. That's our end game, right? Discipleship, then they are discipling others. They are reproducing. So we have to get creative, and discipleship should happen more outside these walls than in. So what do we do? Before we dig deeper into the discipleship of students, it's not going to happen unless you have the parents on board. So we're going to talk about parents for just a second. Because I don't know about you, but like if all of a sudden this older dude wants to start hanging out with my son, or this older lady wants to start hanging out with my daughter, I'd be like, excuse me, who are you? And why do you want to hang out with my teenage kid? Like, it's sad that we live in that kind of society, but it's just the way that it is. And I'll repeat this over and over and over again, that your end game is discipleship, right? And so your end game should be that discipleship is coming from home. You are not the lead role, you are a supporting role. So you want the parents on board. So something that you can do to just get the parents on board. Really easy. I used to send this home with my girls, and it's just a hello, who am I? Little information sheet about who I am as their small group leader. It's got my picture because me as a present parent, if it were my daughter, I'd want to know the face to the name that my kid is coming home and saying, well, Miss Caroline has said this and this and that. And I'm like, who? I want to know who my daughter's talking to, who my son is talking to. So it's just, I encourage all of you to send this home with your students. Make up your own. This was just a really simple thing. It doesn't have to be crazy simple. A few things about who you are, Velocity's mission, because a lot of the kids here, their parents don't come here, and they're like, what even is Velocity? So what Velocity is, the church contact information and your contact information. You want parents to be able to contact you, and you should want to also be able to contact the parents. So I know, speaking as a parent, from a parent perspective, I would appreciate this so much coming from someone that is so relationally invested in my child. Connect with the parents. I know we're all busy, but say, hey, are you ever free for coffee sometime? Let the parents get comfortable with who you are, and then you can be that louder voice because you've earned their trust, you've earned their respect, they understand the agenda, and you're now partnering, okay? You're not fighting against each other. So be proactive in the pursuit of the parent, because again, that culture shift in the family is what you're wanting, and you're wanting discipleship as your end game, and the parents being the one to disciple. Invite the parents to an adult small group. Invite them to church. I know we always have a Velocity section, right? I don't know if that's still a thing, right? On Sundays, and you guys sit together. We'll say, hey, let's sit together as a family. I'm going to sit with your parents, and you're going to sit with your parents. But just get the parents on board. Also, another thing, I don't know if this can be done by you guys, CB, or if this is just going to be an individual thing per small group leader if they want to do it, but I would highly suggest and recommend that you send home a talk sheet that your parents can look at and say, oh man, this is a really crazy topic, because kids come home and they're like, hey, what'd you learn? I don't know. Because either they don't want to talk about it or whatnot. But if parents have something in their hands And yeah, okay, I get 50 million emails a week from my kids' school. I know that there's Facebook that I can go to. I know that there's all these things, but I truly appreciate when I open up my daughter's folder and I have something in my hand that's in front of my face that I'm like, oh, campus filling up? I better email Cambria, because they're not hearing the announcements. They're relying on their 12, 13-year-old kid to communicate to them, and their 12, 13-year-old kid is not going to communicate to them most likely. On parent talk sheets, put some questions like, hey, ask your student this. Like, ask them, how do you feel about suicide? Like, are you hearing about it at school? What's going on? Just conversation starters that get the parents involved in the discipleship of their own children. You are going to win the war that way. That's parents. Remember, this is not just a for fun ministry, that real results require real effort. So I know that this is work, but if you want results, you have to put in the effort. All right, so the parents are comfortable with you. They know you're not creeping on their kid. You're there because you genuinely have burden and you love their kids. So back to students. What can we do? Discipleship outside of here, it's really straightforward. Show up. Like, start showing up. It can be as simple as a text message that says, hey, I remember you had this really big test coming up, or that you had this really big test today. Praying for you. Type out a prayer, whatever. The next day, hey, how did it go? Like, be in communication outside of these walls that say, I remember, I care, I'm present, I'm burdened for you. Jesus lived life with his disciples. Yeah, he only had 12, but he was a present voice, and that is what they turned to. So if they're the want to or the have tos at school, they're hearing their teachers, like Matt said, they're getting 8-9 hours of voices talked at them. So be there, but talk with them. You want your voice, subsequently God's voice, to be one that they hear throughout the week, but it's because you're talking with them, not talking at them. And talking with them means that you are with them. So just for fun, how well do you know the students in your small group? Can any of you tell me one of your students' favorite color? Hey! Yay! Oh, you're my best friend. You just don't know it yet. That's awesome. Anybody else? Foods, good. Just something about them. You should be able to have 5 to 7 facts about each one of your students that communicates to your students that you know them. So have them fill out a thing that you can do outside of these walls. Just have them fill out a fun fact sheet, 5 to 7 things, each student, something about them, favorite color, genre of music, hobby, snacks. So you're rolling up to their basketball game. You pull out a Mars bar, you toss it to him, you're like, bro, good luck. And you sit down. He's like, oh, it's my favorite. It's silly things like that. But you are winning the war with the little things. Remember, if they've trusted you with the little things, they're going to trust you with the big things. So if they know that you know them, Jesus knows every single hair on your head. He knows the most intimate details. And if we are to imitate Christ, then we need to know those that we are leading. So you need to know what matters to them. So find out what matters to them. Nail it up on that whiteboard so you remember. But that will help when those really, like Chocolate Bear said, we're all saying the same things. But like Chris said, it will earn you the respect to speak into those hard conversations because they know that you actually do care. Show up at their events. My dudes, you're really lucky that you've never had to sit through a 4-hour dance recital. Maybe you have. I don't know. There are some dudes that dance. But show up. Go to their events. Go to their basketball, football, bands, concerts. Go to their things. And I'm not saying that you have to go to every single one, but pick one a season. Even one a season is better than none. So find the time, show up, and then what that does too is they're learning to live their faith out loud because they're seeing you do it. Okay? So that it's not just like, oh, well, he just does it at church. but they're seeing you out there that, yeah, I love you. Like, I care for you. I'm going to fight for you and I'm going to be there. Like, I will be there for you. So show up to all their things. If they're not involved in anything, there's some of that, then bring pizza to their school. You can get a pass. It's really not that hard. All of your background checked anyways. Bring a pizza, say, hey, invite some of your friends. So when you start showing up at all of these things, it mushrooms beyond the student also. And I cannot tell you how many teachers, parents, other students are like, hey, who's that? It's your youth leader? Why are they here? Oh, they love me. Oh, they do? And then they're more inclined to come if they're invited, because now they know you, they know that you're for real, and people want relationships with people. And so they'll see that, okay, that's a for real thing. And they'll come. And teachers will come. It's crazy. It will mushroom. So show up. All right. Being creative, invite them into your home. They need to know that your home is their home too. Because again, that is living life with your students. I get that that a lot of us have families, that a lot of us have kids. We can't always make it out to the events. We've got dinner to cook. We've got things to do. So invite them over. You're already cooking dinner. They're here for dinner. They're here for family game night. Make that extra effort and opportunity to have them in your home, or get real creative like the Gregorys and just adopt them all. I mean, Jesus had 12. How many are you guys at now? 12? Okay, well, you're winning. But man, when I thought about like who actually should teach burden, it should be those two right there. So my sister, like the Gregorys, like my sister, she constantly 12, 13 kids in her house on a daily basis, and they're just coming in, coming out, raiding the fridge, raiding the pantry, because they know that that's safe. That's a place that they have to go to, and you are that safe place, subsequently introducing them and discipling them in who Jesus is. So have your home available to them. You will be talking about policies and procedures and safety for that. So there are things that you need to do. And a side note, and this is just really, really heavy on my heart. If you do have your own kiddos, give them a front row seat with you. A lot of them will feel pushed to the back seat because your heart is like, man, this kid, they just really need me. And my kid's fine. Like my kid's doing okay. So they tend to get pushed to the back seat because you're not worried about them. They're fine. But instead, pull them up with you. Let them be a part of it. Let them see your why. Let them just have that. And that goes to the same with students in your small group that are like this table right here, your leaders, where you're like, I'm not worried about them. They're solid. They love Jesus. They're on the right track. They're tracking good. So all my time is going to go into these kids that are just broken. Nuh-uh. Pull these ones a little bit closer. Pull them in, give them that front row seat, help them learn how to, okay, they're not treading water anymore. They are leading. They're going to lead the charge. You want them to be leading small groups, so teach them how to lead small group. Disciple them just a little bit extra, and pull those in. What did I always tell you, Katie? Jesus had 12, but he pulled 3 really close. So don't forget about your ones that are okay. They need you too. Be creative. I said this one. So say you've got the most shy, introvert, homeschooled kid that you're like, hey, I was homeschooled, so I'm not dogging on it. But, they're not in sports. They're not in band. They're not in anything. And you're like, what do I do? And you don't connect with them. Because you'll have students in your group that you just do not connect with, and you're struggling. Like, it's like, they don't talk. I don't know. They don't like anything that I like. Well, you've got your 5 to 7 fact sheet, right? One of them should be like hobbies. What do they like to do? If their homeschool is probably something really smart like chess or winning the spelling bee, I don't know. But tell them, say, hey, okay. He's laughing at me. Teach me how to play chess. love what they love, okay? So be creative when it comes to those students that you're just really struggling with, and say, hey, come, if you can come to the church early, like, I want to learn how to play chess. And you don't have to be like, hey, I saw that you like chess, but you be like, I want to learn how to play chess. One of my students, she taught me how to crochet, and now I'm like, oh, I can make a scarf. Never would I have thought that I would ever learn that, but I'm like, I have nothing in common with this kid. So I would go to her house, I would make sure it was okay with her parents, and she would teach me how to crochet. So love what they love, be creative in how you connect with them outside of these walls. All this is great at building relationships, but how is all of this discipling them? It can come across as just like you're hanging out, but the Holy Spirit moves often on the path of friendships between people. So a lot of times the side conversations, then you're not talking at them, you're not preaching at them on a Wednesday, but those side conversations are going to be what clicks in their head when they're in the middle of a basketball game and that ref makes a bad call and they're like, everything, all the rage wants to come out, the curse words, whatever. And they see you in the stand and they remember kindness, self-control, those side conversations that you have in your face, out there that they're remembering. So you are discipling them just in living life with them and being present. And lastly, give them homework. Yay! So this table over here is complaining. I don't mean homework that is labor intensive. They have a mass quantity of homework already. I'm not saying you need to memorize 10 scriptures and you need to read 5 chapters and blah, 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 blah. I'm saying simply say, hey, guys, this week I challenge you to go home and pray for your parents. And not just silently, but say, hey, find a time and go, hey, Mom, Dad, how can I pray for you this week? And I don't remember if they left. I think she left. I don't remember if they remember, but I had my girls do this, and every single one of them came back and said every single one of their parents cried when they were asked that question. So it's simple. It's a simple little thing, but it keeps their mind missional. It's discipling them. It's teaching them an outward focus, not an inward focus, because now they're thinking about, okay, Mom, how can I pray for you? And students, don't be like, yo, Mom, you really need Jesus. How can I pray for you? Like, seriously. Okay? Like, it has to be done in a very respectful, like, I care about you. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. How can I pray for you? And tell them to actually do it. Writing letters, I'd have my girls write a letter of a time that they felt the most connected and the most in love with the Lord, where they were, what they were wearing, what they were doing, what they were feeling. If there was a song playing, but something that, gets those reminders again, like I knew in this moment that I was his and he was mine. So simple, really simple things, but give them something to do. Shoot them a text and say, hey, how's that going? You don't have to complete it for the 2 weeks until we're back into small group. But little things like that is discipling them outside of these walls, and you're not even there. Quick side note for that, just something to think about. And this is not a me thing, it's just something that I would encourage you guys. My girls' freshman year, I started each of them their own journal that I kept, and I would write down their prayer requests. And every time that they were answered, I'd highlight it and write the day, every single time. So I had pictures, I had letters, homework things that I had them one time write a love letter to the Lord, their first love letter in freshman year. But I glued that on the front of the journal on the inside. But that was their graduation gift. And so they got that 4 years of their walk with the Lord that had been documented, that had been kept, and they got to take that with them into freshman year of college. So think outside, like think ahead. Be thinking ahead, like I'm committed, right? I am committed. I'm going to take these girls, these guys through graduation. Think ahead. But all those are just little things that you can do. So in conclusion, All this is not easy. If your mind is made up to be missional, it is easy. We must realize that we were never created to have a me mentality, but a he mentality. I was never supposed to be in the equation. And once we figure out that these things become easy, once we figure that out, these things become easy because it's about him and them, not me and I. Okay? So it's always not about ourselves. Our life is not about ourselves. So these things can be like a daunting task, another thing that we have to do, another event that we have to show up to. But it's about him and them and not me and I. Okay? So the results are worth it, I promise. And real results require real effort. Okay? So we got to put in the work, put in the effort, and it's worth it. And that's all I got.